Okay, Brandon,
Okay, Drew,
round two.
let's go.
Okay, so you became a little bit of a celebrity on
When?
the weekend, a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So I kid you not, it was Saturday, and I was getting texts and a couple of phone calls from folks from back home, and they were like, "I see Brandon on TV. What were you doing on TV?"
Yeah, good question. I also got a bunch of those texts and be like, are you at the UFC? And I, of course, was not answering because I was at the UFC. Had one of the most incredible opportunities to spend some time with our leader, Pierre, and enjoy some of Canada's premier fighters in Winnipeg at the Canada Life Centre. My first time at a professional fight of any sort, and what an electric atmosphere! It was simply incredible. The both the prelims and the main ticket were filled with Canadians who did pretty well. So I ended up along with Pierre going down on the floor next to the octagon. Briefly met Dana White, met a bunch of Winnipeg Jets players who were huge fans of Pierre, and got to sit ringside as Mike Malott became a ranked fighter in the UFC in his division. Had the chance to meet him and congratulate him for making Canada proud after, and got to spend a lot of time with Pierre. Most importantly, with people. The guy got mobbed. It was unbelievable. Wherever he went in that building, we walked through the concourse, and oddly enough, my cousin was one of the Winnipeg police officers that
Yeah,
was helping escort us.
you
I
were
was
saying that.
I hear my name, Branden. I'm like, oh, hey, Danny, what are you doing? He's like, well, you're going through a very public place, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people looking to track down Pierre. And so there was chants, there was singing of "Oh Canada," chants of "You're my Prime Minister." The love for Pierre in that building was pretty remarkable, and he took the time. We missed a couple of the fights because he took the time to take as many selfies as humanly possible, have as many conversations with so many a lot of young people. But there's this buzz around like, is that Pierre? Is that Pierre Poilievre walking down the hallway here? So it was a really really cool experience, ones that I'm not sure I'm ever going to get again. But yeah, I've had my brief moments of fame in the background on TV where somehow people were like, I think I know that guy. I don't know why they weren't looking at the much better looking, stronger physical fighters in front of me. But
Okay, so I have to laugh about this. Next day, you sent us some photos, great photos. We posted them. Um, Posting photos of you at a UFC thing had triggered the snowflakes like I have never seen ever before. Like, is it like this weird world where you've got people that are really into UFC? And listen, I've never really watched it. I kind of know a little bit, but like, why in God's name do you think it triggers so many people?
I saw there's a lot of comments. I'll admit I don't read all of them, particularly when there's that many.
Good. It's better for your mental sanity.
Yeah, I don't spend a lot of stuff time on social media. It's an important avenue for communications, and I think had a good intention, but overall is would not be healthy for me to look at a whole bunch of people calling names. Yeah, I don't know why. The story should be about Mike Malott winning a fight.
Yeah.
Like the last two fights on the main ticket were Canadians that won. They were excellent fights, and these are professionals, some of the most disciplined, talented people in their craft, and all in all, it should be about their victory. And I think a little bit of overshadowing because people, I'm sure, like, why Pierre is trying to, I don't know, steal the spotlight. Pierre knows these guys. So when Pierre is in the Stony Creek area where Mike trains with crew, uh, Pierre Pierre goes to the gym and he goes and trains with crew. So he knows Mike and his trainer very well.
Okay.
Whenever he's down in that region. And so when it happened and they kind of looked over and all of a sudden like waving at him, and so they went up and embraced after. Yeah, I saw a lot of in the comments toxic masculinity. Particularly,
Ooh.
there was me with some of the
Ooh.
Jets and other I would say tropes against guys being guys. Maybe it's just masculinity. There's also a lot of females at these fights
Yeah.
that are big fans too, wearing UFC gear. Not everything is toxic masculinity. This is a advanced sport with professionals that, as you watch them unblinkingly take shots, and if you've ever tried Muay Thai or Jiu Jitsu, Like it is a extremely physical endeavor. And at the end of the day, we should just be proud of the fact that Canadians are shining on a world stage to get to the status of ranked. I mean, obviously, Georges St-Pierre was one of the initial stars in the UFC, a Canadian. We see him in advertisements all the time. He's kind of a Canadian hero. But it's kind of a shame to see people make so much politics out of something that selfishly was, for me, just a really cool thing. Pierre is, if you heard him on Rogan, he's obviously a big fan of the UFC.
Okay, so I was just going to say maybe we should wrap this part up so
Sure.
we don't get accused
being like
yeah, and talking
Yeah,
about
fair
too much about UFC. Anyway, because we've got lots to talk about. This, I guess, would have been last Thursday. You did a pretty phenomenal job at committee in respect to with the bureaucrats came to come talk about their new EV mandate. And you had one of the bureaucrats a little bit on the ropes. The first two times,
I want to talk about UFC again, though.
you had the first two times, you basically asked the question 3 times in a row, but over 3 periods of questions. First one, he kind of whatever. Second time, and then the third one, you're just like, okay, I'm coming right at it. The backgrounder of the government's new automobile strategy basically said in there, they're still going to be requiring automakers to produce a certain percentage of EVs. And you asked, what is that percentage? And you got nothing. What are they hiding?
Great question. I mean, another marquee environmental policy. I asked a number of other questions that I hope we get answers back to, because the initial plan of what the emissions reductions were intended to be if people embraced the mandates to take on, not too distant future, 100% being electric vehicles versus their new plan. In the immediate aftermath of them announcing their new plan, it became clear that this might just be an electric vehicle mandate through another mechanism. And then, buried in that background, you mentioned the word required, which is critical. And that's what I tried to pigeonhole for a straight answer to the bureaucrat on. Like, why would you use the word required to build? And he said, well, it's no longer about a salesman. And I'm not asking what people have to buy. I'm saying, what do the manufacturers have to make? Required means you have to. It's not that you hope you're achieving a set percentage aspirationally of a target of how many you're going to build. It means you have to. And he just refused answers. So to me, it indicates that there is still a mandate of sorts that the government is going to continue to pursue from the manufacturer side in an effort to force transition everybody over to electric vehicles. And again, I'm not opposed to electric vehicles. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole again. They're super cool, amazing pieces of technology. I just don't believe you should have to tell me or my family or my friends or my neighbors or any Canadian for that matter that I have to buy one of those and try to tell me that this is going to create more choice and all this other nonsense. And so that's what I and I think our party has always been opposed to, is the mandates. And when politicians get accused of not answering questions, which can be true, our bureaucrats are also very, very good at not answering questions.
He would have got an A+.
Like, there's a whole public sector school of avoidance, I assume, is the class title, and they're professionals at it. But that means you're onto something.
Correct.
Right? When when they won't just answer, or they're clearly hiding something, well, then you keep digging in. So I think it just gives us ammunition to continue to try to understand what a 70% target means when you use words like required at the same time.
And you also got to do something last week that you've never done before. So you've obviously seconded a lot of other PMBs, but this last week you got to actually be the official seconder of David Bexty's private members bill.
Yeah.
This is something that, through your background as the grain growers and also being from a farm background and now obviously representing a lot of farmers, give me a really good sense of what David Bexty is going to do, but break it down so that the average person that isn't so well versed in agriculture politics knows what this is.
Yeah, it is technical. I'll say the problem first then, because that's what we're trying to solve. Canadian farmers often look to the south, or other internationally, but often to the south, closest proximity, and 10 miles from a farm in my riding. A farmer down there has a different tool. And by tool, I mean it could be a crop protection product like a pesticide or herbicide, or a new seed variety that has attributes that are going to be positive for yield or more resistant to moisture or drought. And research has been undertaken, and that product has been made available to farmers in the United States, for example, through their regulatory process, which is faster than ours. So when we have farmers competing, on one side of the border to the other, and they have tools and advanced innovations that we don't have, we are at a competitive disadvantage. It's pretty simple. So how do we solve that? Well, short of reforming a lot of the processes in PMRA and CFIA and other regulatory agencies, which we will need to do in the short term, say, okay, if two other trusted, mature regulatory bodies in other jurisdictions, so say the United States and Australia, say have both went through their rigorous process to make sure that a product is safe for human health and for the environment, and has been made available to their farmers, we don't need to approve it on an interim basis. And so that will allow our farmers to gain access to this product while CFIA or PMRA or whatever regulatory body goes through their review process to make sure that it is in fact safe for human health and for the environment, as it should. But it doesn't have us lagging behind 3 years. And frankly, when you look at these big companies, and I don't blame them, they're like, 9 years, there's not that many acres, not that many farmers of this type of commodity in Canada. Maybe we just don't try to register the product. It's just not worth it. We can just sell enough in America, we'll make our money that way. So we either are lagging behind a number of years or simply not getting the product at all. And so the effort behind the bill, it's a really good bill. I'd lobbied for it back in my grain grower days. Now I guess I just had to become an MP and second the House of Commons to get it closer to becoming law. And I really hope the Liberals will do this. They've talked about this in broad strokes, that they want to see a red tape reduction and more competitiveness for our farmers. This is an opportunity to turn that talk, that rhetoric, into an actual relatively immediate result available in terms of tools for our farmers. So I'd love to see it pass. I'm looking forward to debating it in the not too distant future and making it become law.
And I have to laugh. You've become a prolific writer. You have started now your own Substack. I think yesterday you published now your third one. Couple things. One, why did you actually want to do that longer form of communication? And I guess the second question is do you think there's an appetite for folks out there for it?
I think there is.
Just for the record, like everybody now, particularly underneath the age of like 25, has the attention span of a gnat.
It's awful.
And you know, when they do the scrolling on like YouTube Shorts or whatever. Yeah. But do you think there's still an appetite?
I think it's coming back. And I particularly when I go to schools and talk to like high school classes about through civics program type thing, and I always ask them, like, if I put a video in front of you, how long until you scroll? And they're like, a second or two. And we look at the analytics on videos. People just scroll, right? Instagram, Twitter, whatever. It's doom scrolling over and over again. And I think that there is an appetite to learn more as we have an increasing amount of fake news, misinformation, just general nonsense out there on the internet. And people, I think, are sick and tired of getting dumber by using the internet. And so I think there's a revival. That's why we've seen with podcasts in particular, like longer form conversations. I mean, it's kind of like what we're doing here. And I hope we do, because I also explained to those high school kids why I think social media is the worst thing politics ever really had, because it forces us to be, we get accused of you're being bite-sized, you're using talking points. Well, how else could I communicate in 2 seconds? If you're this far into this video, you'll understand that you can have a little bit more meat on the bone. And I think that there will continue to be a growing appetite, and particularly the next generation that is, I think, using is what's the IRL is the short form, in real life. I think that there's, particularly in the aftermath of COVID, more and more people are like, oh man, maybe there's no meaning in my life if I'm online all the time. And I think that there's going to be a renaissance of longer form dialogue and ability to learn and understand things and hopefully kind of engage in debate. So I guess in some ways I'm banking on the fact that people might be willing to read something a little bit longer, engage with it, think about it critically, question everything I write on there, everything I say on here. Critical thinking is vital. Question everything everybody always says. But it's easy to question something that somebody says out of context in 2 seconds versus if you read more thoughtful arguments in long form of anything from anybody. You actually have to think a little bit more quickly or critically, rather than just quickly either dismissing or agreeing with and amplifying something that may or may not be true anyway.
So for the record, this next little bit is all me, so I will take all the blame for it. But even though that you just said you don't read the comments, unfortunately, I read some. And other folks around here, we kind of do. So I'm going to introduce a weekly special. I'm going to call it Keyboard Ken. I'm going to do this. So anyway, the blame can be tossed at me. So I kid you not, you have one of the most prolific fans out there. He must, I swear, have some sort of alert that any time that you post something on Facebook, it's like within moments sometimes. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, well, he more or less comments on everything. So the one I picked this week, he basically accuses you of being on the take for big oil and big gas. So that Lamborghini that you drove to work in today, did oil and gas pay for that?
I haven't pulled it out yet. The weather's not warm enough.
You haven't put the top down.
No, I haven't pulled it out yet. Yeah, I mean, stuff like that's just so stupid. Like if you're listening, Big Oil, I'm waiting for my royalty checks for like you're in the pocket of or you're on the take. Like it's so ridiculous. I am very blessed to be in a position that I am compensated very well for a very privileged, meaningful job. My job is to advocate for the people that work for oil and gas and the people that benefit from oil and gas, and to fight back against policies that punish the entire nation. We have this vast amount of resources underneath our feet. Everything in this country that creates wealth is grown or dug out of the ground. And this idea that, well, someday we're going to reach peak oil and someday it's going to end is a crazy way to think about the now. We have the opportunity to make a whole bunch of money. When was the last time this country had a boom? It was when the oil sands took off, when everybody was leaving Manitoba and Saskatchewan and coming from Newfoundland to go work in the oil sands.
Yeah, they had like a direct flight.
Yeah, like that was a true boom. And I'm not saying that we can't see investments in clean tech and renewables and all these things. It's a matrix, an entirety of an economy is what we're looking for. But to waste the resources we have beneath our feet is just simply foolish. We have the royalties that the government alone collects from both provincial and federal from oil and gas is astronomical. It pays for a huge amount of our roads, of our hospitals, of everything that we get the privilege of enjoying in this incredibly modern, prosperous nation. And to just handicap ourselves and say, never mind, we don't really want to make money anymore because we want to feel good about ourselves is nuts. So standing up for what I think is an extremely logical viewpoint that is echoed by the vast majority of my constituents, whether they work in oil and gas or not, is fine by me. And if somebody wants to accuse me of being on the take or getting paid by these people, I can assure you I'm not. I'm just doing what I think is right for our country and my region that I represent.
Oh, wow. There we go.
Oh, I got it going on that
one. Okay, well, maybe we'll get something better for next week. Okay, let's finish it off with this. Today, the day of this recording, is a very, very, very special day.
Yes.
Okay, what do you want to say into the ether?
I would like to wish my mother the happiest of birthdays. She is an absolutely wonderful human being, and anybody that knows her knows that. I am so lucky to have had her raise me and be so involved in my family and our daughters and her granddaughters' life. I know she's going out for dinner with Pops night at a volunteer appreciation night. Dad really cheaped out.
I heard.
She's a volunteer at the Hermit's Prairies Center on a very regular basis. It's like an appreciation night. So I don't know who planned it, but yeah, Dad got a cheap date out of this. So I will be urging him go on a different night out in lieu of this and enjoy the well-deserved appreciation for the volunteer work you do. And love you, Mom.
Okay, there we are. Keep up the good fight.
I'm on it.